So today we're going to talk about the 475. The question that I get asked the most about the 475 or the SNS 475 cam is how easy would it be for me to install if I don't have any experience, or if I have very little experience or little to no experience. How hard is it to install a 475 cam on my bike, specifically my Harley M8 Softail, right? So let's talk about it. So I'm going to break this down into maybe 4 or 5 different sections, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the context. Was it easy to install for me? And I'm also going to talk about, maybe the toughest part about the installation. Fourth part, I'll talk about, whether or not something went wrong with the bike after I installed the 475 cam. Lastly, things that helped me along when I was installing the 475 cam. So let's get going. All right, so just a little bit of background, a little bit of context. I installed the SNS 475 cam this year around May. Previous to that, my experience in doing anything motorcycle related, wrenching on the bike, I would say very little to none. I did my own oil changes, simple modifications. I had a Grom before, did a little bit of work on that. Nothing too intensive, although I did install a cam on the Grom. I've done exhaust before, I've done the air filter before, I've done a few of the mods on this bike, but nothing as intensive as breaking into the motorcycle, breaking into the engine, and taking stuff apart and all that good stuff. I hemmed and hawed about the 475 cam, whether or not I wanted to get it, because I was really stressed out about whether or not I would be able to install it. And if I didn't feel like I could install it myself, then I started thinking, all right, what are the costs? How much is it going to cost me to get it professionally installed? And I went through all of that. Some of you that are watching this video might be, thinking the same thing actually. I didn't really come across any videos that talked about how easy or how difficult it would be to install it for somebody with very little experience. So I wanted to make this video to help you guys out. So let's answer the $1,000,000 question. Is it easy to install? It's kind of hard to say. I think it really depends on your skill level. Obviously, if you are mechanically inclined, it's going to be easier for you. Obviously, most likely if you're new, or if you've done a few things like myself, if you have little to no experience or very little experience, you might have some difficulties. But for me, I thought, as far as the cam goes, installing on the M8 Softail, I thought it was relatively straightforward. It doesn't mean it was easy, but I thought it was very straightforward, not as complicated as I thought it was going to be. But again, I really do think it's going to depend on your skill level. I will say, maybe the toughest part is just how much time it took. You got to break down the air cleaner, the pipes, the exhaust, the foot pegs, and everything that you see here, just so that you can get to the cam. It took me overall like about 4 to 5 days. I wasn't working on it all day, but a couple hours here, a couple hours there, when I could get time to it. But all in all, about 5 days, I would say. And I took my time. Again, is it easy to install? If I had to answer that question just as simply as possible, I would say, yeah, it's pretty easy to install. And we're gonna talk about some tips and tricks to help make things go a little bit easier. All right, so let's talk about the toughest part of the installation. The push rods actually gave me the most trouble. Breaking this down was easy, but then when you're checking for that overlap to see when the pressure will be off of the push rods, the other set of push rods, I thought that was so confusing. It honestly was really nerve-wracking cutting the push rods, right, with the bolt cutters. That was nerve-wracking. And then when I was putting this thing back together, putting the push rod tubes back in, that was a pain in my butt. And there's not a lot of space for you to get in there. That's what she said. You can watch a lot of videos, but they'll never tell you how much force you actually need to utilize, or how much force you can leverage. So man, sometimes I'm like, am I gonna break something, or is this too hard, or should I push even harder? That's what she said. That was really difficult. You can get through it. I just took my time, like I said, but that was the toughest part of the installation. And like I mentioned, the length of time, how long this took. I don't have a motorcycle lift, so I did it on the floor. So like, I was sitting down, I was hunched over. Man, my body started to feel it after a while. So that was really tough. But overall, like breaking into this, the cam chest and everything, like taking the cam out, taking the bearings out, all of that I thought it went pretty smooth. I'm not gonna lie, it went pretty smooth. The second to last part I wanted to talk about, did anything go wrong after I installed the 475 cam? Did everything go well? Did the bike start? For me, just a quick thing, like, you know, when I was putting everything back together, I forgot to plug in the air filter, this guy right here, this plug back in, and the bike obviously wouldn't start. I freaked out. I thought I, you know, did something incredibly stupid to my bike. I was totally regretting, you know, installing the cam myself. I was like, I knew I should have gotten professionally done, but went back, checked everything out, and then I saw that this plug wasn't hooked up. So just plugged it back in and it started. Then when I actually started test riding it for the first time, you know, obviously it's very nerve-wracking too. I saw a lot of oil coming from the pushrod tubes, like a little bit up here. I saw a little bit, you know, collecting into the behind the engine. I saw some, you know, oil coming from all over the place. It just splattered all over the pipes. So again, freaking out. Most likely, you know, I thought the pushrod, the O-rings, I thought maybe I pinched them, which means I would have to break this down again. I was just, at that point, I was just done with it. I took it over to a shop that I know, you know, can give me some advice. They said I put in way too much Loctite into the tappet cover bolts right here, these guys. So yeah, I remember just dousing them in Loctite because I thought I had the more is better approach, and because I put in too much Loctite, it just wouldn't seal all the way. So they took it out, cleaned them up, and now there's no more leaks, knock on wood. So that was my whole experience with the 475 cam, installing it myself. I'm actually very proud that I did it myself. It saved me a ton of money by not having it professionally installed, obviously. Here are a few things that really helped me out. I found 2 to 3 YouTube videos, but I just studied them like a couple of weeks before I knew that I was gonna do the install. I just studied it. I watched the videos probably 4 or 5 times to start, and then as I was, you know, installing, just watch it over and over again. You know, I would compare one video to the other to see if somebody did something different. That really helped a lot. The second thing that really helped me is getting really nice tools. There are, of course, cam-specific tools that you need to get. And if you are going to get those, try to get the nicer ones because it'll help your installation go a lot smoother. I'm also assuming that you have tools already for, you know, basic wrenching. If you don't, you're gonna have to get those things. I would say those 2 things are probably the things that help me out the most with the installation of the cam kit. The last tip I would give is take your time, ask questions if you need to other friends if you have them, or on forums, reach out to people, see if you can get help. I would highly recommend it. If you want to do it, if you enjoy wrenching on the bike, try it out. It's not that hard. You'll learn a lot, you'll be proud of the work that you've done, and hopefully it all goes well and you have a brand new cam and you can enjoy it and save a bunch of money in the process. All right, well, that's enough from me. I'm gonna bounce out of here. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. Hope you found it helpful, but I definitely encourage you guys to try installing the cam by yourself. It's a lot of fun. So I'm gonna bounce out of here, guys. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, I'll see you later. Peace.